And a lot of people don't remember because the brain isn't connected when you have trauma. The brain disconnects. So what you have is your body. Your body remembers everything that's ever happened to it. The first time you got burned, the first time you fell, the first time you got cut. So your body holds the memory. And there's a book called The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk, which is an excellent book. And it really helps you understand that the memories are in your body, not in your brain. And so when somebody comes to me and they talk to me, their body speaks more to me than their words or their face.
Wow.
And so when their body starts doing things that show me that the body holds this trauma, it speaks to me.
What's up, Camden County? You are catching episode 105 of the Getting in Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Allison Shores with the Camden County Chamber of Commerce. This Getting in Your Business podcast is made possible by our Chairman Circle sponsors, Georgia's Own Credit Union, Georgia Power Company, Lockheed, Comcast, Sparklight, Plug Power, St. Mary's DDA, TDS Telecom, and Ameris Bank. Thank you to all of our sponsors. All right, guys, I have got a very interesting guest today in the studio. I have Miss Patricia Whalen from Hope for Shattered Hearts Counseling Center. I'm so excited that you're here.
I am too.
We've been trying to do this podcast for quite some time, so I'm so excited. You come to a lot of our networking things, and I think you surprise people a lot of times with what you say. So we're going to dive into that. But first of all, I want to know how long you've been in Camden County, and I want to know how you got here.
Well, I came in November 2022.
2022, okay.
Right. My husband had actually retired, and we decided to come back to the Jacksonville area because we have family in Jacksonville.
Okay.
So we came down here with Hurricane Irvin, I think. Anyway, a hurricane was coming in, we were coming down.
So wait, a hurricane was... So that's how you got an experience with your first hurricane? You're moving here?
It wasn't the first one.
Oh, okay.
It was greeted by one.
Okay, you're just greeted. All right. Hey, all right.
I figured if we survived that, we could survive anything.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that was 2022. And so did you open your business shortly after?
I actually opened my business before I got here.
Okay.
I had I had planned on living in St. Mary's, so we had located at a retail area close to our home, and I started getting everything ready, getting it prepared. And
so when you got here, you're just ready.
I was prepared.
Okay,
Ready is a totally different thing.
It is. So when you opened your counseling center, how did you get into counseling? Is it something you've done your whole life, or?
Well, I think I was born a counselor, but when I started the career, when I was 24 years old, I went into career counselor, and she said I didn't want to be a social worker. I wanted to be a therapist, but they didn't have therapists at the time. They had psychologists or psychiatrists.
Okay.
So we're talking in the 80s, okay?
Yeah.
So probably in the 70s. Anyway, I went, and the guidance counselor said I needed to do a 6-month internship in a padded cell floor for mental hospital, either for psychiatry or for psychologist. And I just looked at her and thought, oh no. Because I thought I was crazy at the time. I thought they'll let me in, they won't let me out. I don't think that's a good career move. So I focused.
Is that seriously what you were thinking?
They really seriously, because my background is really nutty. It's a very dysfunctional. I think every psychiatrist, psychologist, or therapist or social worker has a background of some kind of emotional something. That we are drawn to psychiatry. And you look at doctors. A lot of doctors need a lot of validation, nurses, all in the care field, the caretaker field. But yeah, I think I was born a counselor. I remember being a little girl, and old people always talked to me about their problems and what they wanted. And whenever I would go in at work, I would become an admin assistant for a long time, and everybody would come to my door with a revolving door. People would come in and talk to me and leave, and come in and talk to me, even my bosses,
and just tell you their life story.
Yeah. And so I would just listen. And I didn't think I was very wise, but they always came back and said, but you said the other day, it really stuck with me. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So I was drawn to it. And then I got older. I had a lot of things, and just that I was too old to do it. But one day somebody called me one day and wanted to know if I would be interested in finishing my school. I didn't finish my school. And I said, yeah. I said, but what I want to do is this. And she goes, you can do that. I said, I can be a counselor? And she goes, yes. At my age, I was 50s. I was my late 50s. And she goes, yeah. So we talked, and I joined Catholic University online, and I was hooked. And then I wanted to be a Christian counselor. So I found that Liberty University offered the professional Christian counseling degree. So I switched over to them, finished my bachelor's, and then I realized that you couldn't do very much with a bachelor's. So I got my master's in professional counseling.
Oh, wow.
And Liberty University helped me bring both the secular and the Christian aspect of it.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I also took a class because I was thinking of going to Florida called Understanding Human Sexuality. And that's where I found what I really wanted to do, and that was to be a sex therapist. And I thought in a million years, that would be the last thing I would ever want to do.
Well, I think it's so funny when you say at Coffee and Commerce and you introduce yourself, you're like, I'm Patricia Whalen, Hope for Shattered Hearts. I'm a licensed Christian sex therapist. I think everybody's like, did I hear her correctly? Did she say that? Is that a thing? And I think that's what we all think. Like, it's a little shocking. But I love, once you said that, and I'm like, wait, we got to sit down and talk. And I started to get to know what you do and those kind of things. It is amazing. So I kind of want you to talk about, what does it mean to be like a sex therapist, a Christian sex therapist? Because I think that can mean so many things to different people. But talk about the clients you work with and not specifically the clients, but the type of clients you would work with. Let's hear a little bit about that maybe.
So a Christian sex therapist, in my opinion, is simply a sex therapist that happens to be Christian.
Yeah.
And so I don't evangelize, I don't proselytize, I don't try and convert people. Yeah. But I do believe that sexuality should be wholesome. And so because of my past background, I'm also a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And I found that there's so much hope and healing for those of us who are wounded. And I just thought, if I can receive that healing, I want to give it back.
Absolutely.
And so when I came across the Institute of Sexual Wholeness through Richmond Graduate School, I joined it. And it was a requirement for 5 classes, and each class was 22 hours long. And you had to have 50 hours of supervision and then 300 hours of actual clinical experience.
Oh, wow.
And then you had to do a video and have somebody look at it, approve it, and then get your certification. And I really found this as a life-changing thing. So right now, my focus is to help individuals who were abused as children return to wholesome sexuality. Because what happened to them wasn't sex, it was abuse.
Yeah.
Wholesomeness is different. All of us are products of sex. So this should be the most easily talked about topic in the world.
It should be, but I think it was taboo for so long to talk about such things.
Well, it isn't in a lot of countries. I worked with somebody from Sweden, and they were just liberal about, sexuality, which I found it very, very, very freeing, but also it was not uncomfortable. And I think what made it comfortable was that we talked about parts. We didn't diminish the parts. We have breasts and we have, male organs and we have, all the female parts are parts. But when we call them something different, we make them sound nasty.
Yeah.
So, a vagina, whatever else I feel uncomfortable talking. I mean,
I'm okay. I'm okay because I'm okay with you. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
So, we have penis, we have breasts, we have, penis, vagina intercourse, we have anal sex, oral sex. All those things are part of humanity. So we're going to talk about them. And so when you start diminishing, the terms of those parts, you make them uncool or sacred or taboo.
Or like it's a secret and you're not supposed to talk about it.
Yeah, but look around. I don't know of anybody that came in through, who was cloned. Maybe 0.25% of the world today was either in vitro or cloned. All of us are products of sexuality, of intercourse. So healing should be available for us because it shouldn't be the abuse that defines you. It should be who you are.
But I think, with child abuse, it happens at an age where you're still figuring stuff out. And so I think, and then you're not supposed to, you don't know what to do with it because it's a secret and it's something that we don't talk about. And so I think it gets bottled up. And then we as, or not we, but like children, because that's what you are. A lot of times when this kind of abuse happens, you bottle it up and you deal with it the best way you know how, and that's usually to bury it. But unfortunately, it's not buried.
No, it doesn't get buried. But if we were to able to talk about penises and vaginas and breasts when the children were small, a child could come to you and say, somebody touched my breast, somebody touched my penis, somebody I felt uncomfortable doing this. But when we don't give that availability to the children.
Yeah.
So children don't know that what was done to them was inappropriate.
Mm.
An appropriate touch, and an appropriate touch is huge.
Mhm.
So if a child had the terminology, had at least the knowledge that this was not good, I don't like it, it made me feel icky,
Yeah.
it felt uncomfortable,
Mhm.
they could come to us and we could listen. But the problem is we don't talk about it. We don't listen. We don't really listen to what children are saying. Kids do not do sexual acts unless they've seen them or they've done been done to them.
Mhm.
So a little girl, a little boy too, could become very promiscuous, not because they want to be,
Mhm.
but because they believe that that's an attention getter. And, kids love attention.
Yeah.
So a lot of children will act, like little girls will find their clitoris, okay, and rubbing the clitoris feels good. And so they start rubbing it and they don't even know why they love rubbing it. Parents can talk about them, can talk about, the way that things feel and what is healthy for the body, what is not healthy for the body, what can be distracted and do something different. Little boys are the same way, but do it in a way that is not threatening and not critical, but caring and loving and understanding. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So, do you see like children and adults or just adults? What
I
is your
don't see
specialty?
children. I don't work with children anymore because it takes a lot of between the floor. And kids really,
I can't imagine.
to work with children, you really do need to play therapy is the best way of dealing with children. Kids will talk about things they don't talk about when they're playing. But and adolescents also are amazing group of individuals, but I don't work with them either because most adolescents aren't able to process and get through what it is that they need to get through. So you need to do a different type of therapy. I think that dialectical behavioral therapy is awesome for adolescents.
What did you call it?
Dialectical behavioral therapy.
Dialectical behavior?
Yeah, it's a therapy that was originally created for borderline personalities and people who are basically on high level ADHD, and they're constantly doing things, changing their ideas, changing their desires. They're always motivated. They're very type A personalities, but they're very critical. And a lot of those individuals like that who have so much in their heads can't process a lot of things. So DBT is actually acronyms. Like they have FAST, which is be fair, no apologies, stick to your values, and be truthful. So you learn these acronyms, and then they have another one's called GIVE. And so you're genuine or gentle, you are interested, you validate, and you do it in an easy manner, which is a great way of meeting people. But those little types of tools help adolescents. So I think DBT is a great tool for adolescents. But with adults, adults are able to process more because your brain isn't sealed till you're 25.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, when you ask a 21-year-old what they were thinking, that's the wrong question. Because it isn't that they can't think. They can't think. They don't want to. They do want to think, but their brain isn't able to process it. So I work with 19 and above. 19, they're close enough to understanding what happened to them. The little older that you get, the easier it is to understand the full scope of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I find a lot of symptoms for sexual abuse don't show up until you're 25 to maybe 55 or 60. And
what?
Yeah. So I've had clients who've been married 2 or 3 years and everything was great sexually. And all of a sudden they're actually having flashbacks of pain or somebody touching their breasts or whenever their husband wants oral sex, they can't. They just go into this panic mode. And so we start talking about their past. And a lot of people don't remember because the brain isn't connected when you have trauma. The brain disconnects. So what you have is your body. Your body remembers everything that's ever happened to it. The first time you got burned, the first time you fell, the first time you got cut. So your body holds the memory. And there's a book called The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk, which is an excellent book. And it really helps you understand that the memories are in your body, not in your brain. And so when somebody comes to me and they talk to me, their body speaks more to me than their words or their face.
Wow.
And so when their body starts doing things that show me that the body holds this trauma, it speaks to me. And so we started addressing, I give them a questionnaire. There's an adverse childhood experience questionnaire called the ACE questionnaire. It's a study that was done in 1997 to 1999 by Kaiser Permanente and the CDC of Atlanta. And they took Kaiser Permanente's clients, which is patients actually, well, a large number, I want to say 70,000, maybe a little bit less. But anyway, a 2-year study showed that 90% of all mental illnesses and diseases stem from adverse childhood experiences. 90%.
Really?
Talking cancer, Parkinson's, a lot of what we believe are genetic disorders, predisposition things, bipolar, borderline, ADD, ADHD. Trauma has a lot to do with a lot of the problems we're facing today. And so, there's a lot of knowledge in trauma, and trauma's really exploded lately because they're seeing how important addressing the trauma is. Not about reliving it, but about it isn't what happened. So the trauma isn't what happens to you, but what you believe about yourself, about what happened to you at the time. So as a child, I believed that it was my fault that I was abused because I was told I was too cute, I was too adorable, and they couldn't keep their hands off of me. So I grew up, when I found out that I was being sexually molested, I wanted to kill myself, and I almost did. But little by little, my mother called me a liar. Nobody believed me, so I just stopped talking about it. And I went to therapy since the time I was 13 years old. I was, in my 40s, because at first I was very rebellious. Then I was suicidal, and then I was just really crazy. But the therapy, nobody ever asked me have I ever been abused. Nobody. And so I never brought it up. And then when I was in my 40s, I was in my 30s. I was going through a divorce at family counseling, and the therapist asked me, "Have you ever been sexually abused?" And I said, "Oh yeah, but that was when I was a little kid." And so she just stopped everything, and she said, "Oh no, we got to talk about this." And so she put me in a group for adults who'd been sexually molested as children, and it opened my eyes to why my life was such a mess.
That is interesting. And, too, I think right now people can go on social media. You have so many platforms that you can go, and people are actually talking about it more because you're figuring it out. I mean, I've even figured out things about me in my 40s that, have changed my world. And just by doing the inner work of, okay, but I've stumbled on stuff I didn't even realize were things, and so I think now, I think it's more accepted, and we're talking about it more because people are watching these little reels where somebody's like telling their experience real quick, and they're like, turns out that was this. And then you're like, wait, what? And so you'll go in these deep dives, and I think more people are starting to open up to that, even talking like mental health in general. There was such a stigma around it. And I think sometimes maybe in certain places or circumstances, there probably still is. But even when I was growing up, that you didn't go to a counselor, you didn't, that wasn't something that you were crazy if you needed, and that's not the case, and we've debunked all that now and kind of, I don't even know if that was the right word, but we've shown that that's not the case, and so, it's just so much. But I'm glad that you're here in Camden County, that we have this resource, because I'm going to be honest with you, because I was not sexually molested as a child. It's not something I would even think about in my realm of where do people go when they need to talk these things out, or when they're having, who do they talk to? Do you talk to just a normal, person, or we have somebody that specializes in it? And it's what I have found over the last probably 5 to 10 years. Unfortunately, sexual abuse happens way more often than we even can record or know about. And so it is way more prevalent than it should be, number one. And number two, it just way more than we even think. And so it affects a lot of people. I don't know the statistics, but I guarantee somebody in your life, everybody knows somebody in their life that has been.
Sexual abuse encompasses not just penetration, but it encompasses inappropriate touch, and encompasses exposure. It encompasses accidental brushing against you, or walking into the bathroom while taking a shower. I would say we don't realize that. I would say a lot of women have been more molested, not that sexually abused, but molested than we realize. And men too. Men are finally coming out. I have a large number of males who come to me, and they it's more difficult for them to talk about it because most people, as a matter of fact, one person told me, he said, I've reported it. I was told by policemen men can't be raped. And I was like, what?
Mm. Wow.
And that's just not the case. Any human being can be raped. So what is sexual abuse? Sexual abuse is when any other person uses an individual for their own sexual pleasure without permission. That encompasses a lot of things.
It does. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're just here in our area, and I hate the way that you got to counseling and to do this. That should never happen to anybody, but I think it's so wonderful that you took an experience that happened to you over decades, and you had to go through the absolute messiest of messies without realizing that this was the reason it was messy. But I love that you found the path of healing and you found that there was a way. And then you decided to help other people get there because that's important. The signs, you know what you're thinking or they're thinking because you've lived the experience. And, I think we all go through when we're trying to figure out things with ourselves, we just chalk it up to, that's just my crazy or that's just how I am or all these things. And actually, if we did deep dives, we'd actually learn a whole lot. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. Is there anything else that we haven't covered? Because I feel like we could educate people all day long on the knowledge that you have, because I myself have learned so much from you, but I didn't know if there was something you specifically wanted to get out today.
Yeah, one of the things that I really have found a lot of a need for is people working with infidelity. So I work with a counseling agency in California. They're called Pure Heart Ministries, and they're actually a ministry for sexual abuse, for sexual addiction, male sexual addiction. And so I do pastoral counseling for them. But I also, because of my certification as a sex therapist, I can actually talk to individuals who are going through infidelity in a marriage.
I was going to ask, yeah.
Infidelity should not be the end of a marriage, because usually the infidelity isn't caused by the other person. Usually the person who is unfaithful has something missing in their lives or his or her life. And they act out, but they love their spouse. It isn't about not loving the spouse. It's about something that they missed. And so to me, it's a red flag that marriage has problems. And so we can address those problems, bring them up to the surface. And I've had two therapies. One is called internal family systems, which is helpful with individuals with trauma. But the other one is intimacy from the inside out. And that is basically IFS for couples. And it gives couples a way of talking to each other where they actually hear what their hearts are saying rather than hearing for how I'm going to respond to you.
Yeah.
So it's extremely amazing therapy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think too, like when you're going through that, that's such a hard thing.
Well, yeah, for the person who committed the infidelity, they're exposed, so they feel really lighthearted. But the person who received the infidelity feels like they've been dumped by a 2-ton truck, and they're squashed.
And I can imagine like connection after that can feel impossible. So I think, it's a good, because I think at the end of it, you probably just want connection, and getting there. They're going through everything with infidelity. It's hard to get there, and but I'm glad that you're providing a space for people to do that because, on your own and when you're in the middle of things, whether it's infidelity or whatever, like it's hard to know the next step or to even like map out the next step because everything feels so heavy and so like you've got all these emotions and feelings. So I can imagine that's hard. So I'm glad that you provide a space for people to talk that out and to teach them how to reconnect. Because that's important,
Yeah, and I find it very rewarding when I see couples really do a 180-degree turnaround. And, most people come to therapy because they want their marriage to work.
Yeah.
So that's always an encouraging thing for me.
Now, listen, I can keep you here all day because I have like 10,000 more questions that I don't know if they're interested in, but I know I am. But so I want you to tell people where you're located, how they can get a hold of you, if they're want your services from anything they've heard today. Tell them all that stuff.
Okay, so my counseling center is called Hope for Shattered Hearts. It's in downtown St. Mary's. The address is 708 Osborne Street, Suite 104. I am in the corner of Hall Street and Osborne Street. And they can call me. My phone number is 470-270-9268. And my website is hopeforshatteredhearts.com or hfsh.org.
Ooh, I can't. That had to be like H. Okay. But yeah, Hope for Shattered Hearts.
.com.
Yeah, .com. Awesome. Well, Miss Patricia, thank you so much for your time today. I have already learned so much. I hope they have. And I hope if anybody, is looking for this kind of help in their life, that, they know we have it right here. Healing's not that far away.
No, and I'm not the only therapist in the area either. There are others, and I think we're all a good team.
Oh yeah, we have so many different counselors and therapists in this community. They're wonderful. We even have like horse therapy that Camden Behavioral Wellness is doing right now, and it's just there's so much, but there is something for everybody, and not everybody's healing looks the same, and we haven't all been through the same things.
I have offices in my office that I'm looking to rent 2 office spaces. So if anybody's interested, they can contact me.
So you have 2 office spaces. Okay. All right. In downtown St. Mary's, if you're interested, please contact Miss Patricia. She would love to have you in there. All right. That's awesome. I'm glad we got that out. Well, thank you so much. I just appreciate you taking your time today.
Thank you for asking me. It was an honor. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, you've caught episode 105 of the Get in Your Business podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe.